Crafty Gemini Creates, and in this video tutorial I'm going to teach you how to make my little carrot zippered pouch. I love zippered pouches of any size, and I came up with this idea to make it look like a little carrot. I think it would make a cute gift for kids, and actually even my rotary cutter fits in here, so it's going to be super functional for a lot of different people. Let's go over quickly some of the main supplies that I need you to gather up so you can make a cute little pouch like this one. Here we're going to be using Allison Glass Sunprint Grove, and I just cut out a 4.5-inch strip from the width of the fabric, and that's plenty. That will be for the outside part of the pouch and then also for the lining. If you want a different fabric for the inside, you can change it up if you want to. We're also using one orange zipper here. This is a 14-inch zipper. It can be any size upwards of 10 inches or bigger. That will work for this project, okay? For the inside, to give it the body, we are using Bozol's Interform Plus, which you all know that I love. It's fusible on both sides. And then we're also going to need a little piece of green fleece. It's just about a 2-inch by 5-inch piece, and that's going to give us the little green top here for our carrot pouch. So let's start cutting out our fabric pieces. All right, so I have my strip here. It was just cut 4.5 inches wide by the width of the fabric, meaning the fold is down here, and this is the same way the fabric comes off the bolt when you buy it in the store. So let's cut out 2 pieces. You want them to measure 4.5 inches wide, which I have here, by 10 inches, and we're gonna need 4. 2 for the outside and 2 for the inside. Let me trim off my selvages first. And then I'm right-handed, so I'll cut from this side. 10 inches. And I'm going to do this twice. Because the strip of fabric is folded up, you can just do 2 cuts and you'll have them. So here we have 2. And then my other 2 at 10 inches as well. All right. And those are the 4 pieces that we need. Now 2 of these are going to go fused to the Interform Plus, so let's cut that out now. And you want to cut it out at the same size. Now make sure you have your iron on while you make your cuts so it can come up to temperature, because we're going to fuse the fabric right onto the Interform Plus. Okay. Get rid of some of this stuff. Let's take over the 2 pieces of Interform and 2 of our fabric pieces. Just lay it right on top and head over to the ironing board. And I'm just using a nice hot iron here, just dry hot iron, and move it back and forth to activate the adhesive. Now the next step is to do some quilting on it. I like to do just straight line stitches, and to keep it real simple, I'll just use the edge of the presser foot as my guide to do some straight lines. But you can do whatever you want. You can do lines on the diagonal, some cross hatching. That would look great as well. So then you would head over to the sewing machine and do some straight line stitches. I actually have 2 that are already done here for you. See how nicely those stitches look? You can use a coordinating thread. You can use a variegated thread. That would look great as well. And I'm just going to finish off one more line of stitching that I have left over here. So let's head over to the sewing machine. Okay. Real simple to do, just do a bunch of straight lines like that. So we have Interform on the back side. We have our outer pieces quilted onto it, and now we have 2 lining pieces. So gather up all your fabric pieces and your zipper. Let's start layering these things together. I'm going to set my zipper so that the zipper teeth are facing up and the zipper pull itself is down here towards me at the bottom. Then you can take lapel stick, some type of fabric glue stick, or you can just use your Wonder Clips as well. And I will, notice my zipper is bigger than my fabric. That's not a big deal, okay? We can always trim it down to size. I'm going to lay it somewhere here in the middle, and right where this edge is going to meet this edge, okay? Not like this. You want it to go over the zipper teeth and match up with the other raw edge of the zipper teeth. You can put a little bit of your fabric glue stick here to help hold that in place for sewing. All right, so that's the outer piece. Notice I have it with the quilted side or the pretty side of the fabric facing down. Now, we're going to take one of the lining pieces, it's just by itself, and lay it underneath with the pretty sides touching, like this. Make sure you're matching up the raw edges of the quilted fabric, the outer, right, and the lining pieces on both sides. Okay, Let's get some clips here so I can make sure I'm grabbing all three together. And then we'll head over to the sewing machine. You want to go ahead and install the zipper foot on your machine. That will allow you to stitch real nice and close to the zipper teeth without actually stitching over them, okay? So let's stitch this down. And I'm trying to stay to the right of the zipper teeth, right here in the seam allowance. As I'm looking at it right now, I can see that I can pretty much follow this one quilted line of stitches that I have, and it will keep me nice and close, but still away into the seam allowance of the zipper tape, and that should work fine. I like to stop every once in a while and make sure that I'm grabbing all three layers. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. You can open it up and you have your outer facing out, and on the opposite side you have your lining facing out. That's how it should look. Let's head over to the ironing board and give it a good press. Now, because the Interform Plus is fusible on both sides, notice what happens when I pull the fabric over. If I fuse it down, it's actually going to stick to the other side of the fusible. So I like using the double-sided fusible for that reason here as well. Get it to lay as nice and flat as you can. Then we're going to do a line of top stitching, but we're going to stick the other side on, the other outer and the other lining, and then I'll show you how I top stitch them to get rid of this bulk right here. Just give it a good press, flip it over. That looks good. Now let's add on the other side, okay? So now you should have the zipper pull facing up and away from you. And I'm going to put the outer quilted one down again on this opposite edge. And this part can be confusing sometimes, but what I tell my students is just to make sure that you kind of audition it first, and you'll see. If you're a visual learner, notice what happened. I'm putting pretty side of the lining face up and the pretty side of my quilted outer face down. So when I put them together, this is another way that you can do it. If you're not exactly sure, or maybe you're not watching the video as you're making it, here's what I do. Put a few pins where you think it would go, okay? And I'm putting them in parallel to the edges so that when I flip it out, I can see it visually. If this is flipped back and the lining is flipped back, am I gonna get it the way that I need it? And if I'm looking at it like this, it's right. So now we know we can go back, and that is the correct orientation of our fabric pieces. We can go ahead and stitch them down into place. So I'm gonna grab my clips. I think this will be a little quicker. Make sure again that you're matching raw edges on the sides with both the lining and the outer piece, okay? You don't want to be short on any of your pieces when you go to put it all together. And head back to the sewing machine, zipper foot still installed, and do the same thing we just did. So all of our fabric is fused. We have our two lining pieces, our two outer pieces. Now we're going to top stitch right here. This is going to help us keep that bulk that we have of the seam allowances that are all tucked inside, keep them nice and flat, and we'll keep that fabric from pulling into the zipper teeth as we're using it. So lay it nice and flat, and you can stitch it from either side. Whatever works for you will be fine. I'm just stitching close in here just to hold that seam allowance down into place. All right, so here we have it fused and top stitched down. I'm actually going to peel this off of the fusible because I want to have a seamless interior right here. I don't want to have a seam that's exposed. I want it to look like this, so where it's seamless. The only places we'll have the exposed seams are on the ends, all right? And I'll show you how to finish those in a bit. But we want to grab the two lining pieces so that they're touching and turn it the other way so the two outer pieces are touching as well. And at this point, I like to open up the zipper a little bit. It'll just make it easier for us after we sew this. And you're just going to stitch along the long side and along the long side. Don't stitch along the closed edges just yet. And I'm still using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right. Now you can reach in here. Let's finish opening up the zipper. We're going to turn the whole thing out. If you want to and it's too bulky for you in here, you can go ahead and trim down the inner form plus as well, but I'm going to leave it. It doesn't bother me. If you close up your zipper, you see what you're getting now, okay? So let's move on to the next part. I'm actually going to help fuse this back down into place so it can lay a little flatter for me. All right, so now let's decide where we want to have our zipper pull be, at the top or on the bottom. There's going to be two seams here. You're going to finish each end off a little bit differently. So we have one seam that's going vertically and the other one horizontally. Obviously, the horizontal one is where we're going to put the fleece, and this one, I like to have it where the zipper pull is. You can also set it up so that the zipper pull, when it's closed, will be at the bottom. Whatever you decide to do will work out fine. It'll still be a little zippered pouch, right? So let's see. When my zipper is closed, it's up on this end, and that's how I want it to be. So this is going to be my vertical seam, all right? And then this one is going to be horizontal. So you see how the shape is starting to come together like that? Now, before we can stitch this side up, let's open it up, turn it so that the pretty sides are touching on the side that I want it to be, right here. Does that make sense? When this is closed, this is going to be my vertical seam, but you want to have this open, because if I have my zipper pull here, and I stitch, I'm going to lose the zipper pull. You're not going to have a zipper to use. So before you stitch it, stop and audition everything and make sure that you are keeping the zipper pull inside, somewhere here inside the fabric. So now this is going to be the vertical seam. So I'm going to match up the zipper teeth, match up all the fabrics on the ends here with a couple of clips. And we're going to go to the sewing machine using that 1/4 inch seam allowance, stitch that down. Now, obviously, the edges are going to be raw. You just got to use your zigzag stitch. This machine doesn't have zigzag, so I'm not going to do it right now. But just run a zigzag stitch or an overlocking stitch right along the edge, and that will keep the edges of the fabrics from fraying. And if you have a serger, you can do that as well. All right, and now that that's stitched, our zipper pull is inside, so it's safe there. Now we can go back and actually trim away the remaining zipper tape that you have, and then here's where you go and zigzag stitch or overlock stitch to secure that and keep it from further fraying. Now for the other end, remember this was our vertical seam, this is going to be our horizontal seam. So let's set this up so that the zipper tape is running right down the middle of it. Get it as straight as you can get it, and this is how it's going to be. Now let's grab our little fleece piece here. It measures 2 inches by 5 inches, and I'm just going to fold it in half. Oh, one thing you want to make sure of is that when you cut your fleece rectangle, is that the stretchier part of the fleece is running along the 5-inch line. So along the 2-inch, it doesn't stretch much. You want it to run along the 5-inch, and I just do that because when you pull it, they kind of start to curl up on you, and I think that really looks cute. Look at that. So if you want that same kind of look, go ahead and do it the way I'm showing you here. The stretchiest part is along the 5-inch line, or the 5-inch length, I should say. Now, I'm just going to fold this in half, okay? And I'm going to tuck it with the raw edges in. So again, we have this at the halfway mark, and you can trim your zipper tape at this time. Make sure that the zipper pull is not on the outside. It always needs to be on the inside of your seams, right? Where the actual pouch is. So I'll trim this so you can see it a little bit better. So we have our edges here. I'm trying to match up that center seam with the zipper teeth, so it's centered. I'm going to tuck this in with the fold going out, right into the center of that seam allowance. And I like to leave a little bit out. That just helps me ensure that I'm catching all of the fleece when I go to stitch down the seam. So that looks good to me there. Go ahead and get your clips out and clip all these bulky layers, and then go ahead and stitch this slow. If you don't have like a heavy duty machine, make sure that you're using a 90-14 needle in here at least, and we're going to go nice and slow down here with a 1/4 inch seam. Now we'll trim away this excess. Finish opening the zipper, and we're going to flip this whole thing right side out. I like to really grab those corners. And remember that you would finish off both edges. The same way I told you to do it with the zipper, with the zigzag stitch. I don't have that yet, but on this machine, but go ahead and do that here, okay? Either with a serger, overlocker, or some type of zigzag stitch to secure that. Don't forget about those parts. All right, so we flip it all the way out. Looks super cute so far. Poke out all my corners. So here it is when it's closed. And now all we have to do, because we have the two here, I like to do it 2 layers, it just adds more body. Then you can go back and 1 layer at a time, cut these really slim, or however thick you want them to be. And I don't cut all the way to the back of the seam, I leave a little bit there. Do this other part. And then I like to give these a pull so we get a nice little stretch. And we get some curly ends. And that's it. Your little carrot zippered pouch is complete. I hope you all enjoyed this video tutorial. If you did, remember to hit it with the thumbs up below, share it across the different social media sites, and don't forget to click that subscribe button so you won't miss out on any of my future videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.